smoking too, sipping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
Well. There's no turning back now. It's a party, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We will talk about all of those things in
You're speaking my language.
in a tiny amount of detail on today's program. And it's a good one. It's show number 415, and we have guests from an amazing distillery. I'm very excited.
Yes.
Yeah,
So this is one of my favorite ryes.
Okay, so we'll get to that. I hope. Wait, let me look at the table.
Yeah, the table looks good, doesn't it?
I think we're going to be all right. We have from William Price Distilling. We have Robin Glaw and Zachary Hiller on the program today. Welcome, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
It's so nice to have you on the show, and it's even nicer that you brought whiskey.
Yeah, of course.
Just as a rule of thumb, we'll invite almost anyone on the show, which don't take that the wrong way. We'll invite almost anyone if they are bringing some sort of delicious thing to drink.
When we first started this show, Cruz pitched it to me. He said, we may not make, millions of dollars, but we'll get samples.
Yeah, and that's
So I'm in it for the samples.
that's our guiding principle even today. So
You had me at samples.
thank you for bringing samples. We're excited. We'll be tasting a number of things from William Price Distilling, talking about why this is a distillery that you're beginning to hear more and more about, and we'll get you guys input on some of the other things that we do as well here on the program. For example, we like to taste beers, and we'll do that today, and we'll ask you to join in with us unless you have some sort of beer allergy or something that would keep you from being. No, I'm not seeing any negatives here. So okay, good. From left
He's
hand,
looking at you with this incomprehensible. What are you talking about?
from Left Hand Brewing Company out of Longmont, Colorado, we'll be trying their Meyer Lemon Drop Shandy.
Oh,
Okay.
So
All right.
something to make us feel a little summery
I'm
here in
used
the
to getting a stout from Left
dead
Hand.
of winter. Yes, well, they're really known,
Yeah.
I think, more for their stouts than just about anything. But we'll be excited to taste their Shandy, their Shandy. Yeah, from Krebs Brewing Company, which when I was writing up the show notes, I actually thought it was pronounced Crabs, so I'm thinking Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, and I'm like, what a cool brewery name. But it's Krebs Brewery. They are out of McAlester, Oklahoma. We'll be trying their triple IPA, which is called Struck by Lightning, Bit by Cobra.
Oh,
All
I
right.
like it.
Okay.
I
that's
like
a bad
it.
day.
Yeah. And finally, from Equilibrium Brewery out of Middletown, New York, one of our favorite breweries that we've had their stuff here on the program repeatedly. We'll be trying their Mobius Maple Vanilla. It's an American porter.
I love porter.
Yeah, so we're going to look forward to all of that. Plus, we'll be doing the usual nonsense that we do here on the program. We will do, in the second hour of the show, we will do drinking news, which is somehow against any sort of odds or decency, become the favorite segment on the program. We don't know how that happened, but it just did. Our drinking news teaser headline for today: we're going to make out right here. So you'll have to wait till the second hour to find out what that's all
Do I need to
about.
sign a waiver for this?
Yeah, I think we should just blanket waivers for any guest on the show at this point. It's probably in our best legal interest. Also, we'll be bringing you a drinking fact. We're running very low on these, but we like the little fanfare that we play during that segment so much that I keep scrounging through the internet trying to find more facts about drinking. And today's drinking fact, we have not started to repeat them yet, so it's a brand new one today. Our drinking fact teaser headline: don't shoot me, you've been drinking. So we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit here. Another thing we like to do in our first segment is we like to taste something that one of us will bring in, and the only person who knows what it is the person what brung it. And that would be me again today. I have brought in a little thing that we like to call
The beverage of mystery.
So we taste the beverage of mystery. We, try to determine what we think it might be
Is
and
that
whether
sarsaparilla, sir?
whether it's any good. Could be.
Ooh,
Smells like
it's very.
licorice. I still think it's Jaeger bomb.
I want you to know.
No, this smells root beer 100%.
Yeah,
before the show
But like,
started,
there's something wrong with it, though.
before the show started, Robin said that she would drink anything just as long as it's not Jaeger bombs, and I said I make no promises.
Make no promises.
But this is
not Jaeger.
You're right. This has.
So I've seen this product on the shelf called "Not Your Granddad's Root Beer."
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So that's what you think this might be.
Yes, that's what I'm guessing.
Okay. What do you guys think on the nose?
I don't like root beer. So
I'm not a big root beer fan myself.
I was thinking of something licoricey, and Tony
Yes.
said root beer.
Well, when I was a kid, my dad used to take us to the A&W root beer. I think that's the one where you get the little plastic animals on the edge of your root beer cup. It's like a styrofoam root beer cup, but they put a little plastic. Maybe it wasn't A&W. I don't know. But that was just...
Now, all the A&Ws now are A&W and Long John Silver's.
Yeah.
something like that.
It's a little weird, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like Taco Bell and KFC.
Yes.
It's like, okay, I know they're owned by the same company, but I'll have a chicken...
Just on a funny aside, we went through the Taco Bell KFC over by the house one time,
Yeah.
and my wife ordered a chicken taco with chicken or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady on the little talkback thing goes, "I'm sorry, we're out of chicken." And I started laughing. I was
the
like, "This is a
KFC
chicken
Taco
restaurant."
Bell.
Will they put the KFC chicken in the Taco Bell?
Apparently not.
Oh, there you go.
That would be awesome.
Wrong
but-
kind of chicken.
In case of emergency.
That would be awesome, though. Think about it. All right, beverage of mystery. What do we think here?
It smells like root beer. I haven't tasted it yet.
All right, let's taste.
Oh, well,
It tastes like one of those little root beer candies has melted.
not as good, though.
Yeah, the ones that are shaped like a barrel.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
those used to be
yeah.
my
You know
favorite.
exactly. Like
Yeah. Now, you're not a root beer fan, so I'm guessing you're not liking this at
it
all.
tastes exactly like root beer to me.
It's also very flat.
See, here's
Yeah, I was
here's
gonna
an
say flat root beer.
here's an aside. I am a root beer fan, and no, this is no.
no,
Fascinating.
there's a weird taste in the middle of
It
that.
is.
Oh,
In the beginning,
and
middle,
there's
and
the
end.
there's
Do you know
the
what it is?
artificial sweetener aftertaste.
Yeah. So in addition to the root beer licoricey,
Now I need to shave my
Sarsaparilla.
tongue.
Did you
thing.
taste the licorice when you tasted it, or what do you think?
It just tastes like flat root beer to me.
Flat root beer.
yeah. All right. Ian, time for the age-old
It
question.
has a little bit of like fresh cut plywood too.
Time for the age-old question.
With the fresh varnish.
Oh, so we're now at a segment of the show we call "Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?"
I am very happy to be here. And this is the beverage of mystery can, slightly dented from being in my pocket. It is Devon's Texas Pecan Spiked Root Beer. So everybody got it right on the root beer front.
So the extra is a pecan that we're tasting in there.
A little
the
extra
extra
something,
flavor. Yeah.
Or maybe. It says, other than standard orange wine. That's what it says. Other than standard orange wine with natural flavors and caramel color.
That's a fairly typical wine product to be making RTDs out of.
No kidding, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole canned cocktail thing has become such a movement, and we're still trying to figure out why. Because we taste, seltzers and canned cocktails frequently for the beverage of mystery.
The thing that blows
and most of them
my
just aren't
mind-
good.
Is
The thing that blows
is
my
a
mind. Now,
Texas product?
so in my mind, I have this. Maybe this is just a fantasy, but I have to say that there's got to be a committee of people that sit around, and somebody goes, "Okay, here's the samples of what we've come up with,"
Right.
and then these people taste them, and someone goes, "Yeah, that's it."
Right. And we've had some of these canned cocktails on here that haven't been just like, a little disappointing, like I would say this one is. They've been terrible.
Yeah.
Like flat out undrinkable terrible. And yet they're canned and released to the public.
And sitting on a shelf
And
right
sitting
now,
on a
ready
shelf.
to
I mean,
Like
purchase.
you guys, you own a distillery. You work at a distillery. You guys taste stuff before you put it out, right?
100%.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering about some of these, right?
Yeah.
I would have loved if that answer was nope. We just cross our fingers and hope.
Once it hits the numbers on the page, we're good.
See, this is why I really don't understand why my guidance counselor in high school did not tell me that these jobs exist. There are jobs that you have where part of your responsibility is tasting the whiskey before you release it to the public.
I mean, every time we get barrels in, someone's got to open them
That's
up. That's
right.
them.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right?
Right.
I understand this. Well, I would say this is not terrible, but it's not good.
Man, I'm gonna vote no.
Are you going to vote terrible?
I don't like
Yeah,
it.
I don't like
Well,
it.
I'm not
I'm
a big
voting
fan.
terrible.
So here's the thing. I'm not a big
I'm
fan
voting
of root beer. And then, like, I took just a couple sips and they weren't too bad. But then about that third sip,
Yeah.
that aftertaste hit, and I'm still struggling with it.
And to your question, I wonder why they didn't carbonate it more. I feel like that would have helped.
Yeah.
Carbonation would have helped because it would have broken up so much of that sweetness.
Right.
too.
And it would have given you a little bit of that, just like feels
It would
good to
give it
wash it down.
crisp-
Well, root beer is
finished,
better
too.
when it's well carbonated and
100%.
I mean, you can't have flat root beer and be like, "Yep, that's
Right.
flat."
Yeah. No sodas really are good flat.
Yeah.
Not so much.
I
no.
think the pecan made it too sweet.
Oh,
Maybe, yeah.
interesting.
Personally.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, we're going to pass on yet another beverage of mystery. It happens. It happens almost every week, as a matter of fact. But hey, somebody's got to try these. So if you really, really, really love root beer, like Terry, you won't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna like this.
Don't. Yeah. Ew, no.
On today's program, a couple things we're going to do our best to get into. We did the Cigar Aficionado list last week of their top
Yes.
25 cigars. Now, we didn't get to the list from Cigar Snob, so we have that to talk about and get into just a little bit. Plus, we want to talk with our guests here from William Price about what exactly goes into the choosing of a barrel pick, because there has been some discussion, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot. So if it's not time to discuss it, that's fine. But there's been some discussion about doing a smoking and toasting barrel pick with William Price. So we want to understand what exactly goes into the selection of a barrel for a barrel pick, and is it the wonderful thing that we think it is? that whole
Drinking.
process, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is fun. Generally, what we'll do is, since we've gone in and tasted a couple of them, I'll make sure there's no bad eggs in there. But we'll come in, we'll evaluate all the barrels, we'll decide if we want to add a cast strength or if we want to proof it down, which adds a whole
Other
another
dimension,
element
sure.
of the tasting. And I mean, we'll just. The short of it is we're going to drink a bunch of whiskey and pick the one we like the best.
This is what I'm talking about right here. This is the thing.
What if we don't make the decision the first time? Can we come back and do that over and over again?
We could pick 2 barrels.
Yeah, you end up picking 2. That's exactly what happened.
I love this.
The last group that came in was a larger
That's
group.
sales right there. I love it.
This is becoming more and more a thing, though, because when I go to Specs or Total Wine or any place else where I shop, it seems like more and more they will have on the shelf next to maybe your normal offerings a barrel pick that
yeah.
they have selected from. So, again, I've just got real serious issues with my guidance counselor because none of this was ever brought up or discussed, and it should have been. I should have known that opportunity was going to exist. All right, we have the opportunity to take a break here. We will do that. When we come back, we'll find out if Ian had anything interesting to smoke this week, which I'm just guessing.
Boy, did I.
Maybe. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 415, and we are so happy to have you on the program with us. We have a special guest from William Price Distilling. We have Robin Glaw and Zachary Hiller. We'll get to some spirits from these guys here in just a little bit. But first of all, Ian, this is the point in the program where I like to ask if you've smoked anything interesting this
Funny
week.
you should ask, because I did. I sat out on my patio with my little fire table going
Yeah.
right beside me, and then right in front
That
of me
time of year.
is my little chimney. And so I surround myself with fire when I'm sitting out there at this time of year.
I like that.
It keeps me warm. I went a little old school on this one. I pulled out something from a little-known blender. You may have heard of him before, AJ Fernandez.
Oh yeah,
That guy.
I've heard he exists.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I'm
an AJ Fernandez fanboy.
He's a total fanboy,
I'm just
Couldn't
like
tell.
totally into anything he does.
So this is the Man of War
Oh yeah.
series. This is the Robusto 5 coming in a 5x50 with a Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan filler. I know you're surprised by that coming from AJ,
Yeah,
right?
amazing.
The appearance on this rustic, old leather-looking, veiny, oily, inconsistent firmness all the way down, somewhat lumpy cigar. I mean, this doesn't sound amazing,
Sounds
right?
horrible.
But it's got a badass Man of War band on it.
Yeah, gotta love that. Gotta love that.
The pre-light sniff on this barnyard, vintage bookstore, coffee.
Vintage bookstore. That's a
Vintage
new one.
bookstore.
I know exactly what you're talking about. and
Know
I
the
love
smell
it.
I'm talking
I
about.
love it. Yes. Yeah.
So, pre-light sniff on this barnyard, vintage bookstore, coffee, and mocha at the foot. The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip on this. The cap cracked a little bit. I got an effortless draw. I got rich coffee. I got creamy sweetness, leather, vintage bookstore, and earth. The initial light on this.
Uh-oh. But you would expect it.
MBB makes me feel fine. I'm not going to sing the rest.
Thank you. Thank you for stopping.
That next line, it's hard to sing that next line. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It never did. It didn't in the original song.
Nicaraguan Pepper Blast, also known as the NPB. Nicaraguan Pepper Blast, when you have many Nicaraguan tobaccos in there, you kind of expect this. Pepper and sweetness, leather and earth. Retrohale is big, spicy pepper, earth, and wood on the first third of the cigar. Once the NPB settles, a host of flavors appear, including coffee, mocha, nuttiness, dusty tome.
Dusty
I had to think of something that furthered the bookstore idea, right?
Yeah.
But it was still that same kind of bookstore thing. Dusty tome is what I called it.
Have a definition, please.
In my study.
Dusty
Are
tome.
many leather-bound books.
I'm really a big deal. Leather and an overall sweetness to balance the pepper. Leather and a slight tingle on the lips. Retrohale is peppery and woody, sweet, solid ash, good burn. Proposed pairing on this. I found a bottle of Ben Ramick that I've had up there for a few years,
Oh.
and I went to pull the cork out, and it just fell to pieces.
Disintegrated. Yeah.
So I then ran it through
A strainer. Yeah.
a strainer that I have for painting. It's fine. It's just a paper.
Keeps out the cork
With
and
mesh.
the paint flakes.
Yes, that's right. And put it in my decanter, and then had that, and that was perfect because that has leather and all those awesome flavors that went well with it. The second third of this, loads of dense smoke with every puff. Pepper is consistent, however, the sweetness and nuttiness shine through here with supportive notes of leather, dusty tome, earth, coffee, mocha, and a touch of cayenne. I see you guys laughing when I say dusty tome. Retrohale is woody and sweet with pepper, solid ash, good burn overall. The last third of the cigar, rich, leathery sweetness backed by spicy pepper and earth, mocha, sweet coffee round out the flavor profile. Retrohale is woody and sweet with pepper, solid ash, good burn, complex and rich blend by AJ Fernandez, coming in $9 ish. This at $9, this is a 5.
Yeah.
It's a good cigar.
Means you got what you paid for at $9.
Yes, I got mine online for about $3.
Oh, okay.
It's a 7.
So it's a 7.
At
Yeah.
$3, it's a solid 7.
No kidding.
It gets way up there. So good. What a great cigar. And I highly recommend these. Especially you can find them online all the time at a great discount.
So a couple of quick things. Number one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Dusty Tome is the third string quarterback for the Houston Texans.
See, that's good. See, I was going to say my version of that was going to be I now have my new country radio name.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to be Dusty
Hey,
Tome.
everybody, I'm
Dusty Tome.
I'm Dusty
That's
Tome.
pretty good.
Here's some Chris Stapleton.
That's right. See, exactly. See how it flows?
Yeah, it just works. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that I've not been able to confirm this, but there are rumors that Jeff Bezos from Amazon.com is actually working on a technology which has been developed by AI that when you are searching for books on Amazon, that out of your computer speakers will come that smell of
The old
vintage bookstore. Yeah, which I can't wait for that because that's the thing I miss
Right.
when I'm shopping
Something
online.
else.
Nah, nothing.
So please tell me you're in cowboy boots drinking this.
All right, I'm Dusty Motes. We got to take us a break. Pay the bills. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting, y'all. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
Oh, and now I'm I'm still pushing
Sorry.
the buttons over here.
I caught Terry by surprise. It's my bad. Let's try this again. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Go, Terry.
And now it's time for another Smoking and Toasting drinking fact.
We would have abandoned this feature a long time ago if it weren't for that fanfare. That fanfare is just
so
that's
good. Yes.
that's gold. That's golden right there. It is not usually the case that professional sportsmen are given the go-ahead to drink before a game. Can you imagine, like, Travis Kelce having a couple of beers before the game? I can't.
That sounds like
imagine.
1903 football. Come on, loosen up.
Yeah. Prescribed.
I used to have some rugby teammates.
Pretty sure Kenny Stabler used to.
That's right.
There's a great vintage poster of a bunch of guys doing the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And they're all smoking cigarettes while they're on the bike because it was thought that if you smoke cigarettes, it would strengthen your lungs
Yeah.
and you'd be able to take in more oxygen, which
Can you imagine
It's
how much
obviously-
money? Can you imagine how much money the cigarette companies paid to have people actually believe that so much?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
really?
I mean, this is a picture from I think the 30s or the 20s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
This is pretty old.
They had lots of money then.
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Well, while it's not usually the case that professional sportsmen are given the go-ahead to drink before a game, there is one sport that it's different.
Curling.
Professional shooting is entirely different.
That seems backwards.
Whoa.
Shooters are allowed a beverage or two
now I grew up in Liberty, so I'm
Yeah.
aware of
of drinking and
beer
shooting.
and guns.
Yeah. Shooters are allowed a beverage or two as it keeps them calm and lowers their heart rate, which goes on to improve their performance. So if you think about that, like if you're reading a novel about, like, let's say somebody that's a sniper, they always talk about, like controlling their breathing,
Yeah.
lowering their heart rate, lining up the shot before they take it. So apparently
All I can think is Tom Berenger. Sorry.
So if they have a nice martini at the Davenport before they go,
yeah. So what are you doing later? I'm going to go home, watch the game. How about you? I'm going to shoot someone.
What you making there? Espresso martini. Oh, someone's gonna die.
So is golfing not considered a sport anymore then? Because I know they drink the entire time.
Yeah, it's really, golfing is not a sport. Golfing is an excuse to drink and smoke.
Yes.
And that's basically it. And
You
spend
have
some-
to, as much as I don't golf, like I've golfed like 3 times in my entire life. But as much as I don't golf, you have to respect a sport where it's okay to smoke a cigar and drink
Yeah, absolutely.
while you're playing.
Absolutely. And
Which is why I like darts as well.
and if
I
you're
like-
really
I'm a
if
fan
you're
of
really
darts.
good at it, you can hire a caddy to drive you around. You don't have to do
Yeah.
anything.
That's
You
right.
don't have to be
Smoke,
really
drink,
good
and
at
hit
it. You
the
have
ball.
to have lots of money.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So there's your drinking fact for today, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to run out of drinking facts soon, so we need to think of another feature that we can use the fanfare
Okay.
on. Just,
Okay.
when this one dies, it's normal death. Ian, you've poured a beer. Let's get to this one first before we move into the whiskey. But I'm sitting here looking at this bottle, and I think I drooled on the
Drooling a little bit. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I did.
drink this beer so we can get to the whiskey.
That's right. This first beer is a lemon shandy, or a Meyer lemon shandy, I should say. So it's going to be
Very
maybe
lemony.
even more sour lemony. honey. And this is from Left Hand
It
Brewing.
is a very unique nose.
It smells
Very
sour
sweet.
lemony.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
sweet, very lemon.
Now I know you don't like root beer. How are you with Meyer lemons?
Oh, I love lemon.
Okay, all right.
Summer
so good.
shanty all day.
I didn't want to bring you two things in a row that you would have the potential not to like. Ian just made a face. Was that a sour because you drank something sour, or because you didn't
Now,
like it?
you know I generally like sour beers.
Mm-hmm.
This, to me,
I'm waiting for it.
tastes like I accidentally sprayed myself in the face with cleaning product.
Yeah, a
Lemon
little fabuloso
pledge.
there. Yeah, lemon.
Lemon
Very fabuloso.
Yeah, boy, you're not kidding. And back, I don't know, it was maybe around show number 100, we did the light beer taste test. You remember?
Uh-huh.
And one of the beers, it was a blind taste test, and one of the beers was Bud Light Lime. And you and I got into an argument over it because you said it was one of the better ones because it actually had flavor. And I said, yes, but the flavor was furniture polish. So I don't know that really makes it better. This kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
It's not getting better the more it sits on my palate too. It's
It's kind of like a pledge.
it's not just me, right? Like,
Yeah,
no,
very pledgy.
it's
because I
not just
thought
you.
maybe I don't like this, but someone else does. But it's a
Well,
little
I want
bit-
to apologize to Robin and Zachary because usually on our show, maybe one thing we try won't be good. We've hit you guys with 2 in a row now.
It's all right. I got my show beer.
Yeah, their show beers are good. Their show beers they got the
And I see a bottle of
great
whiskey.
And we
height
brought
there.
the whiskey.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so maybe we should just move in that direction. I'll take a drink of the show
Yeah.
beer. And thanks again to the folks at Great Heights who've been one of our show beer sponsors. That's
Now
a
here-
wonderful brewery.
Here
Close to
we
you
have
guys,
some
Yeah, right down
lemon.
the street.
Here we have some lemon root beer now.
That might be a thing.
Anybody want to try
If
that?
it didn't taste good in either or, then maybe that.
Yeah, just combine it. It's like I know you don't like beets, but
Maybe
hey,
the
let's
sum of the parts is greater than the.
let's pour some bad root beer on them. Maybe that'll help. All right, so let's move to something that I have a feeling we're going to like here. Robin and Zachary from William Price Distilling. You guys are in the Heights of Houston, correct?
Correct.
And
Just north of 610. Actually.
North of
610 and Ella.
610 and LA. Yeah.
So Ella, how
Wakefield, is that it?
Alpha Wakefield, correct.
how long has the distillery been open?
So we opened right before COVID. We got the keys.
Oh, good
to the
timing.
we got the keys to the kingdom in February of
timing.
20.
Perfect.
And
And then a note to shut it all down about 20 days later.
So
that's,
we
that's rough.
immediately got more. We immediately got out of COVID, and the city decided it was time to redo the street.
Oh,
good. Yeah.
that always
So-
works out good for businesses in Houston.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. But we weathered that storm. We're still here, and doing these things. So, but I'd say the last probably 2-3 years we've been making whiskey and doing distilling stuff in earnest, and not just trying to survive.
And this is kind of like your core line, right here?
Yeah. So this is our straight rye whiskey, 101 proof.
And Ian, you mentioned being a fan of the rye.
Oh, well, so I love their rye. Well, you guys only have rye,
We are
right?
all rye.
Yeah, we're all
Yeah,
rye.
you're all right, but I love your rye as one of my favorites. This is not the one I was familiar with. The one I'm familiar with is the taller bottle.
Yeah. So
We are
it
having a
used-
little
it
bit of
used-
an upgrade on our
It
bottles
used to look
here.
like this.
Oh, okay.
Right, it used to
Yep.
look like
So
this.
the shorter bottle is
This
Yeah, this is
bottle, this bottle, by the way, is about this much too tall for the shelf that I traded.
Well, that's because
These will
I
be our
wanted-
new
I
bottles
wanted it
now.
on your
Yeah,
top
so
shelf.
the new ones will.
Top shelf.
Top shelf. That's why,
yeah.
it can't fit on the
It
second
needed to be
shelf.
tall and have at least this much neck for. a
No, I like
bartender,
the bottle.
right?
It's very
Right,
austere,
right.
but I also like it to fit on my shelf. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is totally what I'm used to. So, but this is the same liquid.
Same juice. It's all everything we have in stock now is at least 7 years old.
Wow.
This particular line,
Smells
we go
so
down
good.
to 101 proof, and we thought with a newer bottle, nicer label, give it a little
That's
bit of an
wonderful.
upgrade.
The oak, the vanilla. There's a little bit of almost like a brown sugar.
The spice of the rye is kind of offset by that little brown sugar note that's in there.
Yeah, and so we typically make these with two different mash bills. One's a 95 rye, the other is a 55 rye, which is 45% corn in it, so almost a bourbon there, and that's where a lot of the sweetness will come through in these.
Okay, you can taste that when you go through
so
here.
you said corn right as I took that first swallow, and I was like, ah. Okay.
Now, rye went through a period where it really wasn't all that popular in the whiskey world, but there was a resurgence. Whistle Pig, I think, may have had something to do with leading that. There have been a number of other ryes, and now most distilleries. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like most distilleries offer a rye in their lineup. But you guys, much like the Whistle Pig thing, you're committed to the rye.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a bourbon out there one day, but for kind of where we were and what the market was looking like when we were opening up, rye was, I think, the way to go.
Especially we're 5 years into that now, right? Happy birthday! You guys are like right at 5 years old now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
And then you can't walk into a building, turn the key, and then have a 7-year-old whiskey.
Correct.
Right.
Like that takes time. Are you guys already putting stuff away, or?
Not in the way that you're saying. We finally got one of our stills up and running about a year ago. We're partnering with another group to get that done, and so we're mostly making rum off of that right now. Hopefully this year we'll start putting some barrels down as we're bottling more rye. We'll start putting juice down in it.
Do you see William Price as being a multi-spirit distillery? In other words, would you like to have a rum and some other spirits in your line as well?
So, I mean, over the years, it's our goal we've always said we want to get this 100 proof bourbon under $50 on the shelf, at least 4 years old for us to start. And then obviously get it older. But we have a little bit of everything. So, because we got the tasting room, and so we've got a vodka, we've got a rum, we've got a couple single malts, we've got the whiskey, obviously. Coffee liqueur is our best seller.
Your coffee liqueur is outrageously good. And we'll save that. You didn't bring it today, right? Yeah, we'll save that for another show. It's outrageously good.
Cool.
It's one of the best of its style that I've ever had.
Yeah,
It makes a great cold fashioned.
Oh,
nice. I see what you did there. Yeah, I like it. But back to the rye. There's a certain profile that rye has, being spicier, being a little more lively. I guess on the palate, that just seems to be something that has really evolved into the mainstream when it comes to whiskey consumers, and
the rye factor.
Yeah, the rye factor. I like that. Sounds like a Star Trek episode.
That's why I had to say it that way.
Yeah.
I do feel like our ryes are very approachable. They're not overly spicy.
Right. Well, again,
this-
we talked about the balance
This has
here
that
with
sweet right up front, and then the spicy kind of following along, and then it finishes brilliantly. Like that's a part of it. It finishes with a slight tobacco-y and almost a leathery kind of thing, but in such a nice, sweet way. I know those.
Not like a library, right?
Not like a dusty tome. No.
So let me ask you. Obviously, when you first open up and you're distilling your first whiskey, and obviously that's got to mature and age. So you're maybe sourcing other spirits and blending. Which is harder? Is it harder to distill your own and ultimately 5-6 years down the road, have that be something that you're really proud of, or is it more difficult to do the blending and come up with other spirits that you source elsewhere, but that are what you're proud to put your name on?
I would say it's more difficult to make it from scratch.
Yeah.
To do all the distilling yourself, if only because you're investing all of that capital into the raw goods that we don't know if they're going to be good.
Right. When you first start,
you won't know until 7 years down the road.
We have an idea, and the good news is as well, if it's not good when we open it up, we'll close it up and wait till it gets good.
Right.
But who knows when that'll be.
And so during that process, is there a point in time, 2 years in, 3 years in, that you stop and taste and see how it's coming along, or does it really not make sense to do that?
I would think that if we were considering releasing it, would be when I would go in and taste it.
So when it gets close to time, we go, hey, if this seems right, we could release our first batch here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And how much do you do? Like your first ever distillate that you're producing on your own, Do you do a lot and kind of roll the dice so that if this is wonderful, you've got enough to meet demand, or do you go small? What do you do?
Probably a couple barrels at a time.
Yeah.
Because the way that we're going to be making it, I'm not putting down 100 barrels at a time, right?
Right.
I've got.
How many bottles is just so everyone out there has an idea? How many bottles does a barrel generally equal? Like in a estimation.
We get about, depending on the proof, somewhere between 15 and 22 9-liter cases.
Okay.
That's 12 pack.
12 pack cases.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's quite a
150
bit
bottles.
from a barrel. Yeah. Absolutely it is. And then obviously having the other spirits that you've sourced and blended gives you an opportunity to set up those relationships with retailers and bartenders and bars and get your product out there so that people know about it. A lot more questions to ask you, a lot more whiskey to taste, and we have more beers to taste as well, including one that sounds like it's the name of like a Beck song, Struck by Lightning, Bit by Cobra. We'll take a break. We'll come back and do a little bit of that. It's Smoking and Toasting. Gotta admit, that's a pretty nice guitar tone there.
That is good.
Gotta love it. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Our
Those are
guests,
good things.
Robin and Zachary from William Price Distilling. We've only tasted the first one, and there's more to come, so we're really excited about that. Do want to tell you about the cigar I had the opportunity to smoke this week. It's from Caldwell. The Caldwell very creative line of cigars. These guys are...
I love the names of their cigars.
Yeah. Robert Caldwell is probably one of the more creative cigar makers out there today. Not only does he do a lot of limited boutique brands using a lot of small batch tobacco that he hunts down, but he's also super eclectic when it comes to naming his lines. Long Live the King is one of those lines of cigars. And this one in particular is a Robusto-sized Bellicoso named Mad MOFO.
Mad MOFO. I love it.
It's the Maduro version of the Long Live the King cigar, and it did look, as you'll see here, damn tasty. The pre-light aromas were earthy and dark. Once I snipped off the pointed end, the cold draw was lovely, all earth and leather and barnyard. The Long Live the King Mad MOFO uses a Maduro Mexican San Andres wrapper leaf, an Indonesian binder wrapped around Corojo 98, and PEA double Ligero filters. So these are Pennsylvania grown double Ligero. Wow. So I'm expecting this to be pretty
chocolate and big.
And big, full-bodied, yeah. I was pretty excited about this cigar, so I got it lit, and I explored the flavors. Red pepper and hay were the first things to hit the palate, which surprised me a little because I was expecting earth and leather from the pre-light sniff. Subtle creaminess started to creep in about midway through the first third and continued into the second, adding balance and depth to the pepper and a nutty note that hit the palate as I smoked it. Not long after I lit the Mad MOFO, the wrapper cracked along one of the seams, about an inch and a half long. I was worried that this was an omen that the cigar was going to fall apart as it smoked, but amazingly, it burned right through the crack, leaving only a small piece of leaf unburned on its way through the second third, which you'll see in the picture here. By the final third, the red pepper morphed into more of a straight-ahead black pepper, but never became too overbearing. Dried fruit, hint of chocolate, and a continued creaminess made this a really great smoking experience. Very well balanced, very flavorful, and not quite as full as I was anticipating from the description of the tobacco. The Mad MOFO was really closer to medium bodied than it was to full. This was one of those cigars that the more I smoked it, the better I liked it. I found myself wishing that it was a Toro or a Churchill, so it would last a little longer. Exactly. My pairing suggestion for this, a nice añejo tequila, like the Prefiero that we had on the show last week, would go perfectly with this. If you're thinking more of whiskey, I'd maybe try a pour of the Glenmorangie La Santa, something that's got a little bit of that sherry cask vibe to it. Yeah. Depending on where you buy it, the Caldwell Long Live the King Mad MOFO Bellicoso, which is easy for me to say, is a $10 to $12 cigar. And you know what? It was so good, I'd pay that again. And I will. Price to quality, a 5.5 for this bad boy. And so
those of you who don't know the price to quality scale, it's a scale of 1 to 10, but when you get a 5, you're getting exactly what you're paying for.
Right.
So this is price to quality.
Right. And so sometimes less expensive cigars will score higher because they kind of outperform their price point, but it may not necessarily be as good as a more expensive cigar.
I
that
mean,
scores lower.
the bottom line is, if you're going to smoke a Plasencia Almaforte,
Yeah.
right, that's a solid 5.
And it's also
It's a
what?
$22
Yeah,
cigar.
exactly.
You had your 7 that was a $3 cigar earlier in the show.
Right,
Exactly,
right. So you
exactly.
can see like how the scale kind of slides a little bit. But when you have like that Almaforte that I mentioned, if you have a $22 cigar that scores a 5, that's a
Yeah.
badass cigar.
And in this case, this is like basically a Robusto with a torpedo tip on it.
Right.
And it's $10 to $12, which is, pretty pricey for that size cigar. But it performed so well, I gave it above a 5. So it got a 5.5. So
that sounds delicious. Have you smelled this beer?
speaking of delicious, this is Struck by Lightning,
When
Bit
you
by
smell
Cobra.
this beer, everybody put this to your nose, and
Oh
I'm going
my
to tell you
goodness.
breakfast cereal.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm getting like fruit cocktail.
Cereal notes, fruity cereal notes.
Yeah, like maybe a
Pebbles.
maybe a bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
I think I'm gonna
Yes.
like this beer.
What's
right, you can
what's
get
the
it right
one?
off the bat.
What's the one with the toucan? Is that Fruit Loops?
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
You can.
Follow your
s-
nose.
It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting, right? And it
I do
says-
like the can. The can's pretty cool.
Oh, the can's awesome.
Is that Cobra smoking a
You get the
cigarette?
the Cobra with the cigarette hanging out of its mouth.
That's great.
It's a very chill Cobra. He's like, "What's up?"
I was expecting. Now this is
Struck by lightning, bit by Cobra.
now this is. I was expecting something a little more like huge and overwhelming. I know this is a triple, so maybe it's just sneaking up on me.
I
But
love the mouthfeel on this.
Yeah.
Dude, the
Amazing.
mouthfeel is huge.
what is the ABV on this, Ian? Does it say?
11.
Wow.
Oh, holy moly! For an IPA,
It's pretty big,
11?
yeah.
Wow, that's
This is brilliant.
that's getting into a 90-minute
This is-
Dogfish Head
Yes,
territory.
This is a little bit. I love the can kind of says it all. It's a little bit ridiculous.
yeah.
The flavor is a little bit ridiculous. It's a little too much of everything, but it's perfect.
But it totally works, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's perfect. It's a little too resinous, but it works because the carbonation covers that. It's a little too sweet up front and cereal, but it also has that hop bite.
Right.
It's a little too much of everything, but just right.
But it totally works. I love this. This is
It's like when someone nails a caricature. You can't do better.
oh right. I know what you're talking about when they go, oh my god, how did they figure out what to exaggerate and how that would work? And that's kind of what this is. How did they figure out what to exaggerate
Also,
and why does it work so well?
There's 3 Cobras on here, and they all look very happy. Look at
One in the
this.
middle looks like E.T.
He does a little bit, yes.
He's happy because he's smoking and having some IPA.
Right.
Why would you not be happy? All right. That is a very interesting beer. McAlester, Oklahoma's Krebs Brewing Company, or Mr. Krebs, as I like to call them. We are going to take
Krebby
a
baddies.
break. We have more whiskey to taste, and I'm very excited about this. Plus, we're going to try to get into this list of the top 25 cigars of 2024 from Cigar Snob.
And it finishes with Fruity Pebbles, like the milk from the Fruity Pebbles.
There's nothing not
I
to
feel like
like
you can
here.
drink this beer all year long.
I would
really
drink this
do.
floating down the river, no problem. Like,
I
no
intend to drink it all year long, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
Cruz, do you know what I like better than whiskey?
What do you like better than whiskey?
Cask strength whiskey.
Oh, I have a feeling that's what we're going to be trying
We
in
got that
this
for you.
in this segment. Now, I noticed one of the things, and we should have communicated this to you before you came on the show, but I noticed there is some plastic around the top, and
It's already been cut through.
it's already so that's helpful. One of the things we try to do here on the show when we're bringing in a spirit of our own is we try to make sure that the plastic has been removed, so there's no danger of getting a plastic cut. While
He's
you're,
looking out for me.
and also sometimes we like to clear the neck of the bottle just a little bit so that it
No one likes the neck pour.
helps to
I'll
avoid
take the neck
spillage.
pour.
Okay, helps to avoid spillage. Just
They were looking at you all serious at first.
I noticed when Cruz And he is the boss. So I notice when Cruz comes in, the plastic is usually taken off so that I don't have to worry about getting a plastic cut.
It's an OSHA thing.
And the neck is usually cleared from every bottle.
He's thoughtful
that way
like
we
that.
get less spillage. So it's just one of those things that I've always appreciated about him because he has this attention to detail.
Now this bottle that you're holding, speaking of attention to detail, what is this one? This is a
Again, straight rye whiskey, cask strength. It's made from the same two.
So the first one we tried was your core line,
Yeah.
which is what'd you say it was
101 proof.
101 proof.
Yeah.
So this is cask strength, so this is going to be a little
This
higher.
particular one is 118 proof.
Okay.
60
We like the
months.
high proofs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
Ian's a fan of the cask strength.
Yes. Ooh.
Oh,
nailed it.
You've been watching previous shows. That was good.
Wow. That was very professional.
Well, it says something about us that the things we get excited about on the show are
Or the popping of the
cork pop
bottles.
sound effects. Yeah,
Sound effects.
that totally works. I'll pass that over here. Terry, you want to pass yours
Sure,
here?
yeah.
So this is cask. So is it the same distillate as?
Yeah. Generally speaking, we're picking from the same barrels.
Okay.
It's not necessarily in the same ratio.
And so when you have a whiskey that is a higher proof like this, it's because on your core line you've diluted that down a little bit to be more of a kind of a normal proofing. Is that accurate, or am I getting it wrong?
I mean, we're proofing it down because a lot of people, the masses, like it at a lower proof. One of the biggest complaints I get is that all of our stuff is too high of proof.
A little too hot. Yeah.
Really?
So
Yeah.
it's very similar though, like to cigars, for example, because the best-selling cigars across the board have a tendency to be the lighter bodied
The
cigars,
mild,
the Macanudos, the milder ones. But if you talk to people who are really super into it, who are really big fans, they have a tendency to like things that are fuller
medium
and bolder,
to
medium to full. Yeah. And so I would take it that it's probably the same way with whiskey. The general consumer likes it a little bit less.
And it's scary to people who don't know,
Right.
who aren't drinking it all the time. They're just trying to try something new.
Right. But what do you? Where does? Is there like a point where, if something is too high a proof, that it impacts that you don't get as much flavor out of it?
Yeah, actually, one of the ones we're going to try later, that's exactly what happened to it. So the French oak that we'll get into later, our first two releases of that we put out at barrel proof, but this one, it didn't really shine, and so then as we were bringing it down in proof, it started
That's when the
opening
flavor
up.
started opening
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
That's
Sometimes it needs a little
interesting.
water.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Ian? You're a cask.
So
strength
first
guy.
off, the leather is strong in this one.
Oh yeah, you can get it on the nose too.
I absolutely love this whiskey. The leather and sweetness right off.
There
the
is
front.
a sweetness, almost like a bourbon-like sweetness to this on the nose.
I feel like a lot of bourbon drinkers really do enjoy our whiskey. It's easy to drink.
Well, so it's definitely got that rye profile, and you notice it. You don't notice it at the first or the middle of the palate, but like in the back of the palate, as soon as you take that swallow, you get that rye spice immediately. You know you're drinking a rye. This one has a little bit of heat compared to the last one, but it's a friendly whiskey hug that comes up behind you, a little too familiar. It's awkward. Anyway,
A little too familiar.
but
We
it
have,
comes
we,
up
have
behind.
threatened to do smoking and toasting shirts that say on the front the whiskey hug and on the back says it's awkward.
But no, this one has a bit of a whiskey hug that comes up, and it's not immediate. Like I'm still like I took that sip before I started speaking, and I'm still experiencing like little waves of it, and it's absolutely warming. Like I love this, like especially for our weather right now.
So
Like if you're a little chilly, this is going to warm you right up from the inside.
I must be evolving into a little more of that whiskey snob now because I actually prefer this one to the first one.
I
Like
agree.
this one, from a flavor standpoint, this one's just hitting me a little harder. I loved the first one. Don't get me wrong; it was like fantastic. And I didn't ask you this when we were tasting it, but that first bottle, your core line, what does that retail for?
It should be on the shelf for $49.99.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
so very affordable. And then
For as
something
good
like
as that
this.
is.
This one should be under $60. It kind of varies
Wonderful.
from retailer to retailer, though.
This one leaves
Totally worth
on
it.
the center of the tongue, almost like a white pepper, but cinnamon
Yes,
kind of note.
total cinnamon on
Like
that.
so,
on
I
the- on
say
the-
white pepper because it leaves it on the middle of the tongue in the same way that white pepper does. Like black pepper is always like right up in the front of the palate, but the white pepper always hits that middle of the palate, and it just sits right there. It's actually just a wonderful.
I think this is absolutely
and there's a great
brilliant.
mineral aftertaste. And
There's a mineral,
and it creates a lot of saliva as well. It's really nice.
We call that the Doritos effect.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have another one. Thank you. So
One more,
I
please.
think this is wonderful, and if you can buy this bottle for under $65,
Fabulous.
I mean, to me, that's amazing.
Fabulous.
That's amazing.
Love this.
And
Love
and
this
you know
whiskey.
we often like find ourselves making comments like that on the program, and then wish that we hadn't. Because we don't want you to start raising the prices.
Well, I can tell you that we actually just went through a price reduction.
Oh wow!
So
wow.
we spent a good part of last year trying to normalize some of the prices on the shelf. We got some bad advice year and a half ago to raise prices with all the inflation that was going on.
Right.
And just sales plummeted, and so it took us
That's so
some time. But we
interesting.
wound it back.
So there is a sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
For a particular bottle or style.
Yeah, you're random person walks into a liquor store. It's hard to convince them to take a shot at a bottle of whiskey that's over $50.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
about
guys
the
do
price.
the-
Yeah, that's about that cutoff, right? 50,
Right.
and
Do
then
you
it's
guys do the in-store tastings
All the time.
and things
We do.
like that?
All the
Yeah.
time.
I've
Yeah.
found that I've bought bottles because of that. Like I'll try it. There's times. No, I don't want apple flavored whiskey, but no,
It
thank you.
exists.
But like, there's times where I've tried when you see someone with a legit whiskey and you try it that I've immediately gone, okay, yes,
Okay, so
and that makes a difference to me.
and I've done that as well. But let me ask this question: what's the best like etiquette way if you're in the liquor store? There's a sampler there. They pour you something. You taste it. It's pretty good. You like it. But you came in to buy something else. So you're not going to be buying it at that time. What's the appropriate way to do you just say thank you and walk off? Like, what do you do? Like, because it's one thing if it's not good. But if you're tasting, wow, this is really nice. Thank you. Like, how do you gracefully not buy a
well,
bottle?
isn't it most important that you at least got to try it and know what it's like,
I
so
agree.
that maybe
I've-
next time
I've gone back
you can
and
tell
bought
them next
things
time,
that
like,
I've
"Oh,
tasted
I'm
like
here
that."
to buy Bailey's, but maybe next time when I'm here to buy my whiskey, I'll
Right,
get that.
right.
I think it's about the experience. I feel like if you try it and you like it, you're going to come back for it. You're going to think about that product again.
I would hope that to be the case, but I still feel a little guilty. Like, okay, I'm drinking your freebie,
I'll tell people as if this is where they need to be,
right?
that you're definitely on my radar now.
Oh, I like that. You're definitely on my radar now.
I think everybody takes a photo and we expect them to come back and buy it if it's in their
Oh, is that what they do?
camera
Yeah, that's
roll.
right. They do
Yeah,
it
they
because
put it in
that's
their
right.
camera roll.
That's like when
All
you're
right.
Christmas shopping, you're like, I'm going to get that. The kid shows you that, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, I'm going to take a picture of that Lego. Yeah, this is it. Yeah,
I got a birthday coming up.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait, I want to take a picture. I'm going to have Ian buy this for me.
Yes, exactly.
For my birthday.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
It's coming up, right? It's September,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Next
pretty
year.
close.
Yeah. Well, I told Ian all I wanted was one cigar for Christmas this year, and he did not come through. He did
All I
not
gave
give
you
me
was a
the-
bottle of whiskey instead.
Yeah, he did not come through with the one cigar I wanted. Never mind that it was a $150 cigar. Yeah.
Does it taste like leather?
Just saying. Yeah. Just saying. Can you imagine, like,
Rich mahogany.
I can't imagine having a $150 cigar in my
What
hand.
would you have done? The question is, what would you have actually done if I gave you a $150 cigar?
See, that's the thing. I don't know.
No,
That's
you
what I
would've
was just
smoked
saying. I would have,
Yeah.
but when?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was going to say. How long
what's-
would it have taken for you to sit and have
what
it sit there?
special occasion?
Clearly, that's a special occasion.
Because, you know,
cigar,
when a cigar gets over $15 for me, it goes into the special occasion.
But it's like a
This
bottle
is-
of whiskey. Do you open a really good bottle of whiskey?
I do.
See,
I
exactly.
mean-
I do. I buy them
This
to
sounds
drink
like
'em.
something we need to figure out for show number 500 is how we can get our hands on
Hey,
the
we're
$100
halfway there.
cigar for show number 500.
All right, Ian, you're in charge of booking. Get
No pressure.
get some
Rocky
of the-
Patel's coming on.
Yeah.
He's bringing his.
$100 cigar. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
I got you, bro.
I'm just trying to figure out though, because it's one of the reasons we do on the cigars we do price to quality, right? Is this let's say $30 cigar, right? Is this better than 3 pretty decent $10 cigars. And you could do the same thing in whiskey.
So,
It's like,
there's
is this $55 bottle, let's say, is it twice as good as a $28 bottle?
Let me go ahead and point out that one of the best cigars I've ever had is the Padron 45th anniversary. That is a $30 to $35 cigar.
Right.
Is it worth $30 to $35? In my mind, 100%. It's not something I can smoke every day.
Right.
Because if you could just throw $35 into the trash can every day, but it's totally worth it.
For the cost of a
is the
$35
cigar worth 3 of those?
See, that's a
the
great
thing,
question.
because to me that's the top of the rock, really.
Right. So my favorite tequila in the world is the Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia, which now is at about $140 a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can pay more than that for tequila, but I haven't tasted anything I like better. But even then, like, that's a lot of money. Like, is that really better than a couple of $60 bottles?
What's the next?
It's hard to figure out.
What's the next cutoff y'all find for bourbons and whiskeys and stuff? So you're at 50 and you say most people wouldn't try something over that. What's the next cutoff y'all have for higher ends? Like, where does $100 come into that?
So we had a single barrel pick that went into retail and it ended up on the shelf. I want to say at like 115. And
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Still on the shelf.
Still on the shelf.
It's
Okay.
slowly
Meaning
moving
that
around.
it doesn't
just
sell that fast, yeah.
People don't want to spend $100 on an unknown whiskey.
Yeah.
Right. I wish I was, but I'm not Pappy.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
Yeah.
right. But Pappy has developed that reputation,
Yeah, it is.
which is so it's not necessarily unknown, even if people haven't tried that specific model.
Here's a question:
Yeah.
how good is Pappy?
I mean,
There's so many more
I'd go towards
better
the B-Tex over
bourbons
the
and whiskeys
Pappies,
out there,
but,
I think, than Pappy's,
yeah.
personally.
It's the brand, right?
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
So one of the things we love to do here on the show is to let people know about the whiskeys or the rums, tequilas, whatever, that we feel like these are really just as good as those ultra expensive ones, but at a much more fair price. That's the category I'm going to put this
That's
into.
why we do price to quality. We don't rate it like the magazines do a lot of times. This gets a 95 or whatever. We don't rate it like that because it doesn't take price into account at all. Price has everything to do with it.
One of Ian's highest rated cigars he's ever reviewed was a Black and Mild.
It's true. It's less than $1.
So are there allocated cigars out there?
Oh, yeah, there are, but we'll have to talk about that when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we are heard weekly on great, or as Casey Kasem used to say, on great radio stations around the country, like KAFF, Flagstaff, Arizona, 93.5 FM and AM 930.
That's uncanny.
Where I have to do a dedication to a freaking dog. You ever heard that, Casey Kasem?
That's like the Bill O'Reilly thing. It's classic.
It is classic.
Yeah.
It's Casey Kasem, like it's his outtakes, and he's supposed to be doing this dedication about somebody that's dog died, and it just rubs him the wrong way, and he goes off and he starts swearing, and it's wonderful to hear that voice swearing.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah.
It's one of the great. All-time great moments of broadcasting.
When you hear something like that, it's like the other day. It's funny, but my kids walked in the room. One of my kids walked in the room, and I was watching something Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
It was like Raw or something like that, and they were like, they were just shocked. Like, I've never heard him speak like this.
Right, because
I've never heard him say these words. What's happening
And
right
the best
now?
movie ever, Pluto Nash.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Well, he's in Daddy Daycare, and
Also
he's
the
in
best movie ever.
the Haunted Mansion, and all these
Also
movies.
the best movie ever.
All these, and that's all they've ever seen of that. And they were like,
So,
he's
look,
talking like this.
Beverly Hills Cop was hilarious.
Oh, that was another one they saw, and they were like, what?
Beverly Hills Cop was hilarious, and even like Coming to America and stuff was pretty good. But what happened? Why is he doing stuff like the Haunted Mansion now?
Dude, he gets Disney
terrible.
money.
You know what's funny
You realize
is
there's look, Eddie Murphy made it big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he got offered Disney money.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's
then
a big
then he looked back and he said, "You know what, Bill Cosby? Maybe you had a point. Maybe I should tone it down a little."
Listen, if Disney money can change Ice Cube, it can change anyone. Ice Cube does Disney movies.
Yeah.
Like Parent Trap
Remember
Day or
when will
whatever
they
that-
shoot?
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like
Yeah.
they're horrible.
Remember the Predator?
Are we there yet? I think is what it is
Are
for
we
him
there?
or something.
But it's just, and you look in the movie poster, just Ice Cube, they're smiling like, yeah, I'm getting paid.
That's right. That's right.
Ice Cube had a line in one of his songs that says, "White people is something I tried to study, but I got my hands bloody."
Right.
That's an Ice Cube quote.
And now he's doing Disney movies.
And
where
he's
just
doing Disney movies.
He's the grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, seriously.
I mean, look at Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
The
There's
babysitter.
He's going to be in Moana in the
the
new one.
babysitter.
Oh, the babysitter.
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay, the
It's not
Jumanji
a
character
tumor.
that he played was pretty darn funny.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my point is the latter Eddie Murphy movies have not been
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That was my only
I am
point.
Are you suggesting that Pluto Nash was not amazing?
I have a lot to suggest. Sam Adams founder Jim Cook, the guy with that funny little voice.
He's not
Yeah.
a golden-throated pitchman.
He will pass control of his company to his wife. He is apparently basically saying he's going to step down and pass control of the. I guess he's getting older, right? And he's going to pass control of Sam Adams Brewing and all of their offshoots because they actually
Now, wait,
make
if
more
he's
money
old
off their
enough-
other
okay,
products.
yeah.
If he's old enough to stand down, I assume he married a much younger wife.
Well,
so he
Well, I would
be there
assume
one
they
more
would
guess.
retire together.
Yeah, that's what I would
No,
assume.
no.
What are you
Why
guys
would
trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
why
he's
would
like-
you-
No, just-
He's like, hey, honey, this is yours now. I'm going to
Yeah.
play golf. or
Yeah, how
whatever
does
it
that
is.
happen? Yeah, exactly. When
Whatever
did
it is.
that happen?
I'm going to be at home playing video games. There's
Yeah.
some really good ones out these days. Can you imagine? Like, what are you going to do for your
actually
retirement,
own a
Jim
video
Cook?
game console.
This sounds
I
like-
feel like I should.
Yeah, this sounds like one of those swap movies. Like all of a sudden, one day he woke up and he's the wife and she's the husband. Now you have to go to work.
It's Freaky Friday.
I love it. It's a freaky show day because we're going to try some more whiskey.
We're swapping
And
the.
I'm looking at this one and it looks like it's straight whiskey.
Guys, this is my personal favorite.
Okay, Robin, why is this one your favorite out of your?
So this is a 121
so
proof.
good at that.
Really?
95.5 rye. I just feel like it's just a good overall balance.
Mhm.
I don't know. Everybody that I've tasted on and personally, I just love it.
I just want to say, Zachary, you're so good with that cork pop. Could you just be on the show every week?
I'm happy to. I can tell you in
Our
choosing
professional
corks and
cork
bottles
popper.
that
Yeah.
the sound was part of the selection.
It was wonderful. It was just wonderful. And, Ian, I know, is very proud of his abilities in this area, but I got to say, you came on like first time on the show and just nailed it. Just
I'm a
like
little
that.
intimidated here.
I would be. I would be if
Yeah,
I
I
were.
would
I
be
kind
too.
of don't like that
I'm
Zach
intimidated
guy.
and I work with him, so it's fine.
All right. So this one is a straight whiskey, and this one is your favorite. Why
It
is
is
it
my
your
personal
favorite?
I just feel like it's a great drinker.
So it's funny. It doesn't nose all that different.
It doesn't, but it's a 121 proof, obviously, so it's a little bit
But
higher proof. But
My God, the flavor
it's
is
so good. It's so good. It's so easy to drink.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this
Love
is
the nose on this one.
just wonderful. So, explain to our audience what it means when a product is labeled straight whiskey. What does that mean?
Straight whiskey, it's got to be at least 2 years old, all from the same state. You can combine straight whiskeys to still have a straight whiskey,
Right?
but it's got to be at least 2 years old. And
That's got to be from the same state.
all the distillate has to come from one state.
One state. Interesting. Interesting that it's state, not one distillery, but one state.
Can it be different years, or is it all have
I
to be same year?
believe so.
This is a cinnamon bomb, like on the
It's so
middle
good.
of the
Cinnamon-
palate.
So
but
good.
there's a snickerdoodle kind of thing to it as well.
But you're getting no bite off of it at all.
Yeah, I mean
Nothing.
the whiskey hug is so gentle, like
Right.
it's a whiskey whisper.
In fact, if it's got any strength, it's almost mid palate. It's not the finish. That's really wonderful. What does this bottle retail for?
It should be the same as the cask.
That's 60, 65.
Outrageous.
I'm loving life right now.
Amazing.
Smoking and toasting, directly influencing sales, because I think both Ian and I will be
I'll be buying a bottle of that.
buying a bottle on the way home today. Yeah. So,
you.
all right, we gotta take a break. We will be right back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Drinking news is next. He's trying to show off with the sound effects, since you like really kind of put him in his place with your cork pops.
Did you hear the timing on that one?
Yeah, it was
Anything for
beautiful.
the show.
It was beautiful. Oh my God, I'm looking at you pouring that, Ian. It's like you're pouring motor oil
I
out
love
of a
this
can.
already.
That's
It looks like
wonderful.
chocolate milk.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are sure enjoying the fine spirits today from William Price Distilling. So many more things to ask you guys. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But first of all, it's time for the most popular segment on this program, which defies all logic, but it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I need
I
to
gotta
take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. That line always kills, by the way. Always. always. So welcome to Drinking News. How are you doing with your New Year's resolutions?
Well, we're only 3 weeks in, so I think we're pretty good.
Oh, I made a couple this year. I resolved never to drink Malort again. So far, so good.
Well, we're going to see if that happens.
I mean, so much for dry January.
Drink of mystery.
That sounds like a challenge to Ian.
I know. Probably shouldn't have mentioned that.
Yeah.
I did resolve to stay as far away from clowns as possible. So, again, it's only January, but so far that one's a success. And I also resolved to share with you guys, in the context of our drinking news stories, some life hacks and tips for success in your own situations. So today I'm going to follow through on that with the return of a drinking news feature that we haven't done in some time, the quasi-popular What Not to Do. Our segment begins with a report about a Florida woman.
Florida woman.
A Florida woman who was observed by police in her vehicle stopping at green lights and also running into a couple of curbs with her car. Now,
Sounds like
Man,
me.
you know, sometimes
Sounds like me.
Sometimes you got to check those curbs and make sure they're real.
suspecting that she might have had just a little too much to drink, the cops pulled her over, only to discover that the Florida woman was, in fact, a Hooters waitress.
Oh.
Hooters waitress.
Still dressed in the tank top that the chicken wing restaurant has made famous and a sweatshirt.
Tied
Actually-
up above your belly button.
I saw that video, actually.
You already know this story.
Fearing that she was going to be charged with
See, it's
DUI, 22-year-old Sophia Ross decided she was going to do everything she could to avoid a citation. You saw this,
She
right?
did. She did.
I'm super hot. Please don't charge me.
So
She did take off her shirt.
She immediately began to put into action item number 239 from the what not to do list. She began shamelessly flirting with the police officer.
And lifting her shirt.
Instead of accepting
Lifting her shirt.
And lifting her shirt.
Instead of accepting the field sobriety test, she informed the policeman, "We're going to make out right here."
And she worked for Hooters.
When the officer didn't seem interested in her proposal, the Florida woman, as you said, lifted up her sweatshirt to display the assets in the Hooters tank top and began calling him Daddy repeatedly.
She did.
"I'd do anything for you, Daddy,"
Yep.
she can be heard saying in the body cam footage that the police eventually released. And when her offer didn't seem to be that well received, she told the officer, "I can't keep my hands off you."
Do you want to make out?
To which the cop replied, "Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to."
Oh.
Realizing that her attempt to defuse her impending arrest was not working, The Florida woman.
Daddy issues are not that hot.
Actually, it could be body cams really suck if you're a cop.
The Florida woman decided to switch tactics.
Nope.
Bro, don't be such an effing nerd, bro.
She did say
She
that.
said,
I did hear
That's
that.
perfect.
She did say that.
And then mocked him
That
repeatedly.
works every time.
And then mocked him repeatedly by saying, I am a nerd. I am a nerd. As he tried to warn her that the body
You know
cam
what?
was recording the whole thing.
Cops love that when they hear that. They're like, you know what? You should probably drive home.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you pick up that tactic, it's perfect.
Yeah. Anything we do is recorded and anyone can see that, the officer told her. Mom, dad, grandma, family.
And she was like, yeah, same thing on OnlyFans. What are you talking about?
Right?
Well, the Florida
How do you get
Hooters,
paid?
the Florida Hooters waitress then interjected, "You think I give an F?" Only she didn't say F, but radio
Yeah.
broadcast. Because of course she did. Because Florida.
You know, Hooters is going to look at that video,
Yeah.
and they're actually going to think a little bit before they fire her.
Yeah.
Do you think she got away with it?
Oh, well, not with the law, but I'm wondering about Hooters. I wonder.
Oh, yeah, they didn't fire her. Why?
Listen, I was doing a morning show on radio one time years ago, and we did some joke or whatever that the people thought was objectionable, and Hooters canceled their advertising because they were a family restaurant.
Wow. What? How
I'm not
bad did you
kidding
have
you.
to do something to get
I'm
Hooters
not
to
kidding you.
cancel?
I'm like, okay, your logo is an owl with eyes that look like breasts. Come on.
They're part of Disney, guys.
I mean, nothing like
Disney
Twin Peaks, which is totally a family restaurant.
Right.
Totally.
Ross was taken into custody and charged with DUI, to which she has pleaded not guilty. So clearly the Florida woman's "we're going to make out right here" line didn't work. And as a rule, most pickup lines will likely fall flat if you're trying to use them after an officer has pulled you over. This is the real world here, not Cinemax after 10 p.m. But just in case you might be tempted to use them, our crack team of researchers here at Drinking News, which consists of me, have compiled a few that are just as likely to fail as the one used by our Florida woman. And despite strong public outcry, we've gathered them for you here in the form of another Drinking News Top 5 list. This would be the top 5 pickup lines just as likely to fail when you're pulled over by an officer of the law. Top 5 pickup lines
In
just
Florida.
as likely to fail. Number 5, how do I know you're a cop? You don't look anything like that guy in The Village People. Number 4, so hey, sexy, want to share a bottle of wine? I've got an open one right here in the passenger seat. Number 3, hey, is that an Air Taser 34,000 on your belt, or are you just happy to see me? Number 2,
It's such a specific irritation.
number 2,
You just broke Terry.
number 2, you look pretty hot through these beer goggles I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah.
And the number 1 pickup line just as likely to fail when you're pulled over by an officer of the law. Number 1, why don't you come to my place for some undercover work?
Hey, hey.
Dude, I could hear the air quotes on that.
I live next to a Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh.
I do love some Dunkin' Donuts.
Reporting live from a Hooters in Florida, where I've come in for wings dressed in a police uniform, but no one has flirted with me or called me daddy. I think it's because I got chicken grease all over my badge. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. I just want to mention that during Drinking News, often I will reach, if there's a moment where people are laughing or whatever, and I have a moment, often I'll reach for whatever it is that I've been drinking to just, sort of fuel the whole Drinking News thing with another sip. And as it turns out, instead of reaching for my rye whiskey here, I reached instead and picked up this. So I've already taken a sip of this Equilibrium Brewing porter.
This is Mobius maple vanilla American porter with maple and vanilla.
Yeah, you would think.
It's a little dark.
Just a little.
It's a little dark, guys.
It's motor oil-ish.
Yes.
You're being eye judgy.
You're very eye judgy.
I need to pick up a
It's-
six-pack before the freeze comes back.
Delicious.
Now, are you not really into darker beers?
I
Is that
am
what you're
not
saying?
into darker beers.
So does this kind of fit the profile of what you would expect for a darker beer? Or
I have not tried it yet.
Oh, okay.
we'll
So that'll
see.
be interesting to see.
Yes.
So you
a
already
fan.
said you're going for some of this on the way home, right?
Yeah.
I
All
refilled mine already.
Oh, all right.
Terry, thoughts?
It is. It's yes. It's good. It's palatable. I like it. I taste the vanilla. It's better than what we had last week that ended up going soy.
That
so
one
I'm-
was not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that one didn't work. But as I like this because there's so much vanilla, and as we learned from the genius wisdom of the Canadian pop group, the Bare Naked Ladies, vanilla is the finest of the flavors.
Don't we call them Canucks?
I think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're the incoming president, you call them, future citizens.
How about that, eh?
Apparently, he wants to annex Canada. I'm like, are you sure? I've been to Canada. I'm not so sure.
We're gonna call that North Houston.
Yeah.
Time for some poutine now.
I don't know if you've been to Houston recently, but it's grown.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
Houston goes all the way to Conroe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what they call
The
the
Gulf of
Woodlands now?
America.
You know what they call the Woodlands now? South Dallas,
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Exactly.
pretty much. But
Exactly.
I think this is wonderful.
It's delicious.
Now, do you like this, or is it too much
It's a
dark beer
little
for you?
Dark for me. A little
Okay.
dirty.
A little dirty.
Yeah, a little dirty.
I
Dirty.
love the gritty chocolatiness of it.
Yes, gritty is the word.
It
That's
has
what I like
because
about
it does have that like kind of grittiness to it.
I mean, it's cold. It feels good to drink, obviously, but it's a little.
See, Ian will
it's
drink this
little
on
dark. It's
a
little
hot
dark.
summer day.
No,
Floating
no,
Oh,
down
I
the
have no problems drinking this floating
no.
down the river.
I'm more of like the lighter beers, IPAs, summertime.
I
I'll
love
drink those floating down the river too. That being said, I'm just not that picky about it as long as it's good beer.
I love that Ian's test for good beer is would I drink it floating down the river?
Yes. Yes, and I have no problems with that. I have no problems with doing, triple IPAs or bourbon barrel aged stouts or barley wines. I love barley wines.
I would just say this brewery, Equilibrium Brewery, we've had a number of their beers on the show. They've all been pretty good. They're from Middletown, New York. And this is, I always find it interesting when breweries will actually do a porter because I think the instinct is often to go as big
Straight
as
up-
they can and go straight up stout, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
like
porter pulls back just a little bit, but the mouthfeel on this too. The mouthfeel on this is really big, so it's almost a stout-ish mouthfeel.
I will
So-
say I don't taste the maple at all.
Oh, I get the maple.
Do you?
Okay, so take a tiny sip of that, and then super gently breathe out of your nose. It's the retrohale. You'll get the maple, big time, right on the back of your sinuses.
No.
nope.
Okay, I'm wrong.
This is like beer expert Ian Barry, ladies and gentlemen.
Apparently, I'm terrible at this.
Yeah. We should find another show to do. How about a show about golf?
About golf.
Golfing, drinking and golfing.
Now I rarely say this,
I've
but
golfed 3 times in my life. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I love all the craft beers and stuff we try, but I feel like today that I have really just been trying the beer so I can get to the next whiskey from William Price. It's a rare thing I would say, but
One of
yes.
the things we asked Terry to do is like, please make sure you butter up the guest.
No, this is a real thing. I
so-
really do. I feel like I'm drinking this. I'm like, all right, next whiskey.
Yeah. I will point out that I don't think Terry was that big of a whiskey guy before he started
No, not at all.
as the producer of the show.
I enjoyed certain things, but I didn't know that there were that
When
many
he
things
says
out
certain
there.
things that had an umbrella in it.
Yeah, it did, or it had a Jack Daniels on it, and it's just like we said earlier. The $50 price point was a scary price point to pass over and
Sure.
try something.
Right,
But
because
now-
that's a lot of money to sink into something you don't know, right?
Exactly. And so now that I'm getting to try all of these different kinds, I really have become and like I say, I had no idea until last year that I liked rye until we really tried some of the good, like Angel's Envy and some of the stuff that we had. I really didn't know I was a big rye fan.
Part of the reason that we do this show, obviously, is samples. But another part of the reason is that there are so many choices out there. You go and you look at a bottle like this one on the shelf, and it's in the $50, $60 range, and you're like, you
don't know anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we've at least been able to taste it and talk about it, at least you have a little something to go on. You might not have taste that's identical to ours, but at least we've given you some information. Guess what? This is a cinnamon bomb. Guess what? It doesn't come across as being as highly proofed as it actually is, or whatever the comments were that we were able to make about it. And it's not that we're experts, we're just kind of like normal people. Yeah. But I trust normal people more than the experts anyway, in many, many cases. I mean,
Well, it's scary. You go up to a Total Wine, you go to a Specs, and you look at just an aisle of nothing but, whiskey and bourbon and rye, and you're just like, well, what's in that bottle? I don't know what's in that bottle. And
there's so much out there.
Right, but I remember hearing about this, and I remember they really liked it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or they were disappointed by it, or whatever the case.
And that's the true goal of the show, is to say, hey, this might be worth going and try and spending that $65 on.
It's the true number 2 goal of the show.
Well, yeah.
The number 1 goal is samples.
And a drink.
We'll be right back. It's Smoking a Toast. It's like he's done this for
amazing.
A long time.
You would think that's the same bottle over and over again, but it's every single bottle. He just got it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Smoking and Toasted. And no, these are not pre-recorded sound effects, ladies and gentlemen. These are
we sacrifice a bottle every single time.
The only thing that's pre-recorded here is the fanfare that we do for the drinking fact. And
Can we get that fanfare?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you want the fanfare?
This is
for
what
the
pre-recorded sounds like.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
That's what pre-recorded sounds like. Doesn't it seem like...
It sounds like me walking into a room.
Doesn't it sound like it should be like the king from Shrek? Was it King Fa?
Was it Farquaad?
Farquaad. Yeah.
A buddy of mine...
I think he's compensating for something.
A buddy of mine, John DeBella, who used to be on the radio in Philadelphia for many, many years, and I worked with him a long time ago. He used to do this whole bit about the land of Fa and the king of Fa, who was the Fa king.
Yep.
Yeah, so, that was,
like Sofa King?
Yeah, that was a whole bit. The Fa.
The Sofa King.
Yeah, exactly.
Fa King.
Lord Farquaad, that's it.
Yeah,
and Jack Harlow sings about Lord Farquaad.
Does he really?
Yes, in that's the big song that he has, the biggest one, he actually mentions Lord Farquaad.
I have to go back and listen to that. My Jack Harlow, bona fides are not totally in place. So I apologize for this. Our program is Smoking and Toasting. We are all about,
those guys are crazy.
Despite what this segment opening may have indicated, we're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're talking fine spirits here with our guests from William Price, Robin, and Zachary.
The nose on this is exquisite.
It's so
let's talk about this, and then I want to talk about barrel picks.
All right.
So this actually was a barrel pick.
Okay.
From one of our big investors. He picked this barrel for his charity.
It's so soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he only wanted half of it, which was no problem for me because this was actually my favorite.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's doing just fine.
Okay.
He's doing just fine. And so this is a French oak finish rye.
This is wonderful.
It's so soft. Like the
7
flavors,
year.
they just feather like right across the tongue. This is just in this beautiful way. And it's oily, and it coats the entire palate, but then it just is like a feather across it. It's crazy.
It's 7 years almost to the day.
Wow.
And it's spent 2 years in the French oak barrel.
That's wonderful. There's a subtlety to it. It's because, as Ian was saying, it's kind of soft and
it still has those initial tobacco notes and a few other things that your other distillates have, but it has this creamy kind of creme brulee kind of sweetness across the top, and then it's so soft on the tongue. It just like it hits your palate and then it just spreads because of there's a little oiliness to it. Look how it sticks to the glass, and then it just coats the palate and creates this beautiful.
It's got such a unique sort of softness. I know you said the word soft, but it's sort of a pillowiness to it.
Yeah. So there's other ryes we were drinking. Obviously, the first one was 101, and then the cask
Much
and the
more
single barrel
delicate,
were way higher. This one we brought back down to 101.
101.
when we drank it at proof, it was just punch in the face, one note, wasn't really doing much for me. So I started adding some water. Probably when we got into the low 100s is when it really started opening up and the flavor started
And
coming
you started
through.
getting that sort of billowy softness to it. Wow. That's very impressive because I don't know if I were, drinking, like you said, the original and it was kind of one note, I don't know that I would necessarily have guessed that diluting it down would bring this.
Adding water will change your whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. You could add water to this right now. It's going to change it. You could add water to something that's already been watered down at 40 proof. It's going to change
It'll still change it,
It's
right?
going to change it. And I don't know. There's not a single distillery in the world where the distiller won't say, you know what? Try it with a splash of water.
Right.
I'm a firm believer of the best way to drink your whiskey is however you like to drink it.
Yeah,
I
try it
love
with
that.
a few
I
drinks
love
of
that.
I personally like a lot of my stuff a little bit colder. I like to drop an ice cube in it. If I'm starting at 80 proof, there's no movement for me there. Right?
I'm with you on that. I actually love, I'll always try a whiskey neat, right?
Yeah.
But I love an ice cube, and I love what an ice cube does. So first off, an ice cube it makes everything cold.
It opens everything up.
And there's certain flavors that come out when it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
The fruitier flavors, things like that. And then as that ice cube starts to melt in and you get the dilution in the liquid and it starts to warm up, you get different flavors as it warms up. So when you put an ice cube in your whiskey, you get a full ride.
Mm-hmm.
There's a beautiful, you get to taste it this way, and it just really is nice. So I do almost always an ice cube in whiskey.
Yeah. So there has been some talk about doing a smoking and toasting barrel pick with you guys.
Do you know what would be cool about that?
What?
If we did a smoking and toasting barrel pick.
I was going to say everything.
Everything, yeah. Everything.
So what would be involved in, how would that work? Obviously, we would come to the distillery, we'd taste certain barrels and try to figure out what we like. What happens then?
Well, the short story is, as we're tasting, often we're eliminating barrels rather than picking them.
Right.
Oh, this one's good.
Right.
this
you're
one's
looking
good, this
at which
one's
ones
good.
we like.
Who
and you're
doesn't
going,
like
okay.
number 4, right? Okay, so
Right. So then the barrels that have that profile get kind of pushed off to the side, right? Because you're familiar with all of them.
I will
We're
have
not.
tasted all of them before we start.
No. Okay. So we're in
Not
good
that
hands.
day, but
He didn't necessarily say nothing.
He came in kind of sideways.
So so let's say we settle on a particular barrel.
Sure.
So then what happens to it then?
Well, it depends on really what we're going for, how big the barrel is. Obviously, we'll sell some in the distillery, but we'll work with our distributor and our retail partners to get it out to the masses as well.
And we would talk to people about the fact that it exists and say,
we would
go
be
find it.
You know what we have? We have a barrel pick, and we do this dance.
The barrel pick dance? I like the barrel pick dance. That works for
we
me.
Zoom in on that.
Guys, obviously.
So, is it, what about the laws? Is it something we can sell online?
Potentially, just kind of
promote, sell online?
every state's a little bit different, but we partner with third-party retailers.
Obviously, we're heard, all over the country, all over the world. So, okay, all right. Well, we would love to look into this more, if only because I just love to have our own barrel pick. That just seems so
Amazing,
cool.
guys.
Not only would that be cool, but I just want to do the barrel pick.
Oh yeah, no samples. I know what you're talking about. It's the founding core principle of the show.
Yes.
And that's what's important.
Samples.
Guys, thank you. Robin and Zachary, thank you so much for
It's
being
our
on the
pleasure.
show. Your whiskey is amazing. We will continue to drink it and enjoy it. And you guys are welcome back anytime. We appreciate you being on the
thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right.
for having us.
If you're in the greater Houston area, go to the Heights neighborhood and check out the distillery from these guys, William Price Distilling. You will not regret.
There's
your trip
also
there.
such a great area where they have their distillery. They have 2 breweries right around them, Walking Stick and Great Heights, which, by the way, Great Heights, we've been drinking their beers for about a month.
Yeah, yes,
So good.
absolutely. All right, have a great week. We'll see you next week at Smoking and Toasting. Thank you. And cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
There she goes, there she goes.